Hello friends, welcome to Awdhesh Academy. Friends, we are now going to start a new chapter and we will learn about the ethical ideas of Indian religions. Primarily about Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism. So first, let us start with the Hinduism. So we'll learn about the ethical ideas of Hinduism today. According to Hinduism, there are four goals of life. Dharma, which means living life according to the dharma or righteousness or duty. We will clarify the concept of dharma in subsequent portion. The second goal of human life is earth. That means wealth. We must earn sufficient wealth to sustain a comfortable life. The third goal of human life is calm. That means fulfilling our desires and passion. And the fourth and also the most important for many is called moksha. Moksha basically means freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Because Hindus believe that our Atma is basically part of Paramatma or God, and this Atma takes birth after the death of a human being. It can take birth into different forms, animals, and therefore unless we get freedom from the cycle of death and birth, we cannot avoid pain because this world is full of pain. Let's first understand the most important concept of Hinduism, that is dharma. In Hinduism, the ethics is not very well defined in any of the scriptures. It is often called Niti Shastra in the ancient texts of Hinduism. We can broadly define ethics as somebody who is following the dharma or living his life according to the dharma, which can be called as virtue, which can be called as a duty, which we can call as a moral or ethics, whatever. Dharma is a word which actually covers everything. Dharma can sometimes be very confusing also because it is not so well defined as it is there in other philosophies. For example, ahimsa is considered to be paramo dharma or the greatest dharma. But we have seen that in Gita or during Mahabharata, Lord Krishna convinced Arjuna to actually kill even his close relatives because that was considered to be the dharma of Kshatriyas. And so you can see that the dharma is very, very flexible, fluid, and it depends upon the situation. In Manusmriti, there are 10 virtues which are defined under the head of dharma. These are very important because that is the only place we can find dharma is exactly defined. And you can also see that these principles can be said to be very universal because more or less almost in every tradition these are considered to be virtuous action. One is called dhriti, means courage. Kshama means forgiveness. Third is dhamma, means temperance, control. Then asteya, which basically means don't steal. Then soch basically means purity of body as well as mind. Then indriya graha means control of the senses. Seventh is called dhi. That means basically it is a reflective prudence, that means the pragmatism. The seventh is called vidya or wisdom, knowing the right knowledge. Ninth is called satyam. That means always speak truth, follow truth, be truthful. And 10th is called akrodha. That means you should not get angry, freedom from anger. So these 10 virtues are considered to be dharma according to Manusmriti. But the meaning of dharma is actually very, very difficult to grasp in a very objective manner as far as Hinduism is concerned. Dharma is derived from the word dhri, which basically means hold or maintain or keep. Dharma therefore means that what is established or firm and hence law. That means dharma are basically those principles which sustain this world. Just like this solar world or this universe or galaxy is sustained because of certain laws, in the same way it is believed that this world, human world, is also sustained due to certain laws, and these laws can be called dharma. Now let us understand one of the very important concept of dharma in Hinduism, which is very popular, and that is varnashram or varna dharma. Varna basically means the color, race, tribe, nature, character, quality or property of the object or the people. It basically means in the earlier time the color of the skin. It is believed that Aryans who came from the west were having fair skin, and so they were having a different type of profession, and the people who are lower or the people who are local were basically having a darker skin, so they were giving different profession. So this varnashram or varna dharma basically divide the people into 4 different classes. The first class is called Brahmins, who are basically the priests, scholars or the teachers. The second is Kshatriyas, who are basically the rulers, the warriors or the administrators. The third is called Vaishyas, who are basically the merchant who do businesses. And the fourth is called Sudras, basically who are the laborers and the service providers. So these are the 4 varna on the basis of the profession. But normally this word is also called caste. But according to our scriptures, the caste is different than the varna. Caste is called jati. Now, jati is basically something which is not exactly the varna, because jati depends upon the birth. But in the ancient time, what happens? The people generally followed the profession of their parents, and therefore this profession also become hereditary over a period of time. But within the varna, there can be separate jatis, and the jatis can move into another profession, and so their varna can change. It has happened so many times that the Sudras became Brahmins or given the status of the Brahmin because of their profession or because of their competency. For example, Vidur and Valmiki, they were born as Sudras, but they became Brahmin because of their high education, their high intellectual ability. So it is possible for a person to move from one varna to another varna because of his merit. And it has been so many times you can see in the scriptures where the people have changed from one varna to another. The 2 examples I've already given. In the same way, if somebody is a Brahmin belonging to the highest caste so-called, and if his deeds are bad, then he can fall into the lower type of the varna. So according to the scriptures, the jatis can change by inter-caste marriages also. For example, a woman who get married to a different caste will adopt the caste of that particular boy. So that happens in the patriarchal system. In the matriarchal system, the caste of the man changes according to the caste of the female to whom he marries. But inter-caste marriages do not change the varna. Your varna reflects the profession, and that does not change because of your marriage, but your jati can change. Sometimes what happens is that the entire varna get changed because the whole jati adopt a different profession. So it has happened that many non-Kshatriyas participated in the war, they have shown their valor, and thereafter what happened? That they were accepted as Kshatriyas. In addition to the varna dharma, we have ashram dharma. According to the ashram dharma, the professions of the person or the jobs of the person has been divided into 4 classes depending upon the age. The first is called brahmacharya. This is about the first 25 years of your life. Here you are supposed to be brahmachari and you should study under the gurus. Then grihastha. After 25, you should get married and become a householder, and you should take care of your children, give them good education, take care of the family. Then comes Vanaprastha after 50. You should, for the next 25 years, you should resign from the active life and share your knowledge with the society, practice meditation, get ready for the next phase of your life. And finally, the fourth phase is sannyas. That means once you have crossed the Vanaprastha, then you should leave the worldly life and go to the forest, and there you achieve salvation or mukti by constantly praying to God. Bhagavad Gita is very important text as far as Hinduism is concerned. It is considered to be the most sacred book of Hinduism. But unlike other scriptures like Quran and Bible, Gita is not strictly a scripture. It does not tell you do's and don'ts in the way it has been told into other scriptures. It basically gives you a philosophy of living your life, summarizes the philosophical knowledge of Vedas and Upanishads. It only helps you to lead your life in a more meaningful and purposeful manner, and people, irrespective of the religion, can follow the principles of Gita. According to Gita, all living beings have body and Atma or soul. Body is basically something which dies, but Atma is eternal, it never dies. So just like a man changes his cloth when it becomes old, the soul also changes the body when it becomes old. This soul or Atma is part of Paramatma or God. It comes from God, and ultimately its purpose is to get dissolved into God. Till such time it gets dissolved into God, this Atma keep going into different yonis or different life forms and take birth into different living creatures. Like a man can be born as a cat or a dog, and a dog can be born as a man. Because this is a cycle, and every one is having the Atma, and therefore we can be born as any living creature. And the ultimate goal of Atma is to achieve Paramatma and become one with the God, and that is called Mukti, and that is the final goal of human life. Gita says that we have three natures: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The nature of Sattva basically means the path of truth or light. The nature of Rajas means the path of passion. We have passion and desire. That is because of our nature of Rajas. And Tamas means basically the path of darkness or ignorance or inertia. So all human beings have all the three natures. Nobody is free from any of the two. But the proportion of these three natures varies, and that basically decides your attitude of life. And it says that the mukti is basically possible by following four paths: karma, jnana, bhakti and dhyan. Karma basically means the selfless action. You do the work but don't expect anything in return. Be happy whatever God gives you. The second is jnana. Understand the divine knowledge, how this world was created, what is the purpose of our life, why something happens, what happens. So this knowledge is jnana. Then bhakti, having faith, having devotion, emotional attachment with God. This is the third path. Prayer, rituals. And the fourth is dhyan, or the path of meditation or yoga. Our scriptures can be divided into two parts. One is called Shruti, other is called Smriti. Shruti basically means heard. That means it consists of those scriptures which are supposed to be the word of God, which has been heard by our rishis. They are divine in nature and they cannot be altered because they are coming directly from God. Vedas are considered to be Shrutis. The other is called Smriti. Smriti basically means memory. And these will include other scriptures other than the Vedas. There are four Vedas according to our scripture. Rig Veda, which contains the prayer to gods like Indra, like Surya. It will have prayer, how to keep them happy, how to request them to give what we want in our life. Then second is Yajur Veda. Yajur Veda has these hymns or prayers about the sacrifices. The third is the Sam Veda, which has the different musical tones, and the fourth is the Athar Veda, which basically helps you in making life successful, and it contains method to fulfill our material aspirations. Then we have Smritis. Smritis can be divided into four groups. Vedangas, which are the subject required to understand various aspects of Vedas. So these are basically the commentaries of Veda to understand Vedas. Then Upaveda, it has different type of arts and scientific knowledge into that. Then Upagnas, which is understanding the dharma and debating about it. And the fourth is Darshanas, or the philosophies to discover truth of life. And our scriptures or the Hindu scriptures basically have two types of approach in our life. One is called pravritti, other is called nivritti. Pravritti basically means to live in the worldly life, enjoy the worldly life, and fulfill our senses, fulfill our desires. That is the life of pravritti. Second is nivritti. Nivritti means basically turning away from the world. It basically means turning inside, realizing your spiritual self and placing God at the center of our existence. That means basically praying to God and thinking about our moksha or ultimate salvation. So that is what is the second methods, that is about the nivritti. So both methods can be adopted for salvation. If you fulfill your duties in the world, that is one path. Other is that you get away from that and ultimately pray to God and realize yourself. That is another method. So today we have learned about the different ethical principles of Hinduism, and we have understood the basic concepts of Gita, and I hope that you will be able to understand the ethical values of Hinduism, and you will be able to write good answers in the civil services examination. Thank you very much for watching the video. Friends, today we are going to learn about the ethical ideas of Jainism. Let's now understand the history of Jainism. Jainism is broadly believed to be founded by Mahavir in the 6th century BC. However, the Jains trace their history through 24 Tirthankara and river Rishabhnath as the first Tirthankara. The last two Tirthankara, that is the 23rd Tirthankara Parashurnath and the 24th Tirthankara Mahavir, are actually the historical figure, and rest of the Tirthankaras are generally believed to be a mythological figure. Now, Mahavir was the contemporary of Gautam Buddha, and Jainism shares many thoughts of Buddhism. It also shares many thoughts of Hinduism. As you will find, as we will discuss about Jainism, that a lot of concepts of Jainism has come from Hinduism. But of course, there are certain variations also which were brought because of certain problems which was there in the Hindu religion then, and basically the problems of the different type of rituals. There were a lot of rituals that time, and the people were actually exploited in the name of rituals, and that is the main reason why Buddhism and Jainism flourished, and they have given an alternate philosophy to the people to think rationally and take the actions according to their rational thoughts and mind. Now let's first understand the basic principles of Jainism. Jainism is one of the unique religion in the world which gives equal importance to the life of every living being. Whether it is a man or whether it is a woman or whether it is any animal or insect, Jains believe that all lives are sacrosanct and all lives have soul. So we should not kill any life, at least consciously. That is the reason that you will find that most of the Jains actually walk barefoot so that they don't kill the ants. You will also find that many monks of Jainism basically wear a white type of scarf so that the insects do not come inside and they don't get killed in the process. So such is the devotion of Jainism for treating all life as sacrosanct and give reverence to all the life created by the nature. Jains do not differentiate between the different souls. They believe that the value of all souls are equal, and that is why the value of all life is also equal. Jains are strictly vegetarian. They're very strictly vegetarian. You will hardly find a Jain who is actually eating a non-vegetarian food. They believe on reincarnation, which is very similar to the concept of our Hindu religion. Similar to the Hindu concepts, the Jain also believe in the concept of liberation, and they believe that the ultimate goal of the soul is to liberate from the cycle of death and birth and become one with God, and so that it does not have to take birth again. But how that is achieved? It should be achieved only by abolishing all the karma, eliminating all the karma, because all our karma basically bind us with this world, whether the karmas are good or whether the karmas are bad. But ultimately, as long as you are doing your karma, you are bound by this world, and therefore your soul cannot be liberated from this world. And they have prescribed 3 jewels to follow if you want to liberate your soul. Now, what are the 3 jewels of Jainism? We can also call them 3 jewels of ethics of Jainism. They are called right faith or Samyak Darshan, right knowledge or Samyak Gyan, right conduct or Samyak Charitra. So let's understand what is the meaning of right faith. The right faith means that you should find the truth yourself and differentiate or distinguish it from untruth. Friends, you will find that in every religion, in every faith, there are so many things which are false. It is possible that when those religions were created, when those scriptures were written, there were many things which are unknown. But now, after the science has progressed and we have seen so many things which are not right and not proven scientifically, we still continue to believe on those things, then that is not something which is a right thing to do. For example, it was believed in the earlier time that earth is flat, or it was believed that sun revolves around earth. But now we know that earth actually revolves around sun. So once you know these facts, thereafter you should not believe just because it is written in some scriptures. So that is the reason that Jainism tells us that we should actually find the truth ourselves and we should differentiate from untruth. If we have found that something is wrong, let us discard it. It does not matter who has written, where it is written, who has said it. Jainism also teaches us that we should not believe anything blindly. Just because somebody has said you should not believe it blindly, use your rational mind, and only when you find the thoughts to be rational and truthful, then only you should believe. You should learn by seeing, hearing, feeling, etc. yourself, and then you should analyze yourself using your own mind and rational faculties and the logical perceptions which you have learned, and then only you accept something as true. You should avoid the preconceptions or superstitions that actually hampers your vision to see the things rightly. You will find there are so many superstitions which are widely prevalent all over the world, and particularly in a country like India, which hampers our development and growth. So the first concept which Jain Muni has given, that we should have the right faith, we should believe on the right thing, we should not believe on the wrong thing. The second concept which Jainism says is right knowledge, that means Samyak Gyan. You see, knowledge is the driver of our action. If our knowledge is right, our actions will be right. If our knowledge is wrong, our actions can't be right. So that is the importance of knowledge. We should get the right knowledge. And so it is important for us to have the accurate and sufficient knowledge of the real world, not a hypothetical knowledge, not a presumption based on assumptions, but actually what it is, what is the truth. That is what is something we should find out. So we should have the right knowledge of that. The second part is that we should have the right knowledge of Jain scriptures. See, it is not good to reinvent the wheel each time. The Jain monks over thousands of years, they have discovered certain knowledge with lot of penance, lot of hard work, and that knowledge we should learn so that we can follow the right path. Of course, if you don't agree with some of them or some of the knowledge is not correct, you can always discard them. Then the right knowledge is needed for the pure soul. Because if the soul does not have the right knowledge, it is likely to get attached to unnecessary things, to the worldly desires, and that will actually affect the progress of the soul. And if you have the right knowledge, your soul automatically becomes pure. The third important principle is the right conduct or Samyak Charitra. That means if you have the right belief, you also have the right knowledge. But if your conduct is not right, then it is good for nothing. It is all useless. And that is why Jainism teaches us that we should have the right conduct. We should actually follow the ethical rules and not only discuss about it. We should not actually harm other living being, not even think of harming the other living being. And then only we should be able to actually see the benefit of living a life which is free of harming of anybody. You are just arguing on that and not actually practicing it, that is not going to lead to any conclusion. In the same way, we should actually live a life of detachment. If you live the life of detachment, don't have attachment with the worldly thing, then you will see how great transformation your life will have. So just argument proves nothing. Unless you follow those actions, you will not see the truth of action. And that is very important for us. So right faith and right knowledge is not sufficient, but they definitely help you in giving you the right values and follow the right behavior in your life. Jainism believes on 5 types of abstinence, that means don'ts. These 5 things we should not do. The first is called ahimsa, which means you should not have violence, you should not kill anybody, you should not hurt anybody, not even by words. So that is what is the first principle. The second is satya, that means truthfulness. We should always be truthful, honest. Then third is the asteya, that means non-stealing. We should not steal anything. We should not covet other person's wealth. We should not covet other person's spouse or other person's, anything, any possessions. Then apragraha, that means we should not acquire too many things. You see, this is the big problem in modern time, that most of the people think that the more wealth means more happiness. The bigger house means greater, acquisition or better sleep. And that is something which is absolutely wrong. You should understand that wealth is not the source of happiness. And Jains are those who will teach you that you don't need anything. You can live a very simple life and still you can enjoy the life more than the person who is the wealthiest person of the world. And that is why non-acquisition is one of the important principles of Jainism. And brahmacharya. So brahmacharya basically means that you should have a chaste living, or you should be, engaged in the physical relationship only with your spouse or in the legitimate manner. So that is what is the meaning of brahmacharya in the concept of the householder's life. So we have known about the 5 vows of Jainism or 5 abstinence of Jainism. Now everybody need not to very strictly follow those vows. So one is called Mahavrata. Mahavrata basically means that those people who will follow all the 5 vows or all the 5 abstinence in a very strict manner. And the second is called Anuvrata, which is more applicable to the people who are living in the worldly life, earning their livelihood, doing their regular jobs, that they should follow Anuvrata. That means all the 5 tenets need not to be followed very, very strictly. It can be followed a little liberally. There are 2 basic sects of Jainism. One is called Digambar sect and second is called Shwetambar sect. Now in the Digambar sect, they don't wear cloths. And in the Shwetambar sect, they wear cloth like other people. Generally, the Digambars are the saints or munis. The ordinary people generally have Shwetambar as a sect. Now let us understand the concept of God in Jainism. Jains do not believe in gods. They believe in the divine being who are worthy of devotion. What does it mean? They believe that all human beings are capable of rising to the level of divine. If you do the right conduct, if you do the right thing, a human being himself or herself can achieve the level which is worthy of devotion, worthy of worship. So Jinnas are basically the people who are human beings. They never say that they are born as from God or they were God. They are human beings, but because of their effort, because of their dedication, because of their controls because of their control over their desires, because of their action, they achieved the level of God. So we can all become Jinnah, we can all become like gods if we follow their path. Now the Jains do not venerate or worship Jinnas because they are God, but they venerate them, respect them, honor them, follow them because their conduct is so superior that if you follow them, you can also become like them. And that is the goal of all living beings, that we should try to live the life of the Jinnas. That means it's not necessary that we should worship God. It is important for us to follow their path and become like them. That is the main teaching of Jainism. And if we can follow their conduct, then we will become like them, and that is the path of the perfection, that is the path of perfect soul, and that is the path of liberation. So Jain prayers tend to recall the great qualities of Tirthankara and remind the individual of the various teachings when they actually pray to these Jinnas. So friends, today we have learned about the different principles of Jainism, and Jainism's principles have highly influenced the Indian way of life because it reduced the ritualism, it reduced the animal sacrifice and so many evil things which used to go on that period of time. And a large amount of vegetarianism which is popular in India perhaps can be attributed to Jainism, who has taught us to respect all the lives of this world and not kill any other animal. Thank you very much for watching the video. Keep watching the video. Please attempt the questions which are there after this lesson. Thank you very much. Friends, today we are going to learn about the ethical ideas of Buddhism. Buddhism is truly a world religion. It is started from India, but it is spread all over the world, whether it is eastern part of the world, whether it is the western part of the world, whether it is Hindus or Christians or Muslims or any other religion, Chinese, they all find something useful in Buddhism. Buddhism is not strictly a religion because there is no God. It does not believe in the concept of God. It believes in the concept of enlightenment. And the meaning of enlightenment or Buddha is to actually know the truth, know the reality of life, and accordingly shape your life so that you can have minimum pain or a best life possible. So we are going to learn about the Buddhism today. Let's start how Buddhism started. It is a fact that Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama in the 6th century BC. As we know that he was a prince and he was to become a king. He was brought up in all the luxuries which is possible in those times, and his father ensured that he did not see any bad thing in his life. So he was kept out of all the negative things of life. He was inside the palace. He has never seen misery. He has never seen difficulty. He has never seen an old man, sick man, and like that. So he was totally unaware of the problems and sufferings of human beings. Now one day Buddha was able to manage to get out of the palace and see the real world. When he saw the real world, he saw 4 things which are called 4 instances. He saw an old man, he saw a sick man, he saw a dead man, and he also saw a monk. So when he saw the old man, he was very surprised how this man is looking so weak and so ugly. So he asked his, the charioteer as to why this man is looking like that. Everybody will get old and become like them. Then he saw a sick man. Then he was told that everybody becomes sick. Then he saw a dead man who was carried by a mob or a lot of people. Then he was told that everybody has to die. So Buddha was very much disturbed. That is it the end of our life? Whether all of us are going to face these sufferings. Then he also saw a monk, a person who was living on alms, on begging, did not have any possession, but he was looking quite happy and satisfied. So Buddha thought about it. How to make the human life free of suffering. That became the mission of his life. He decided to leave his palace, his family, his wife and children, and go in the search of truth. And thereafter, he searched truth for many years, and finally he got enlightenment and got the knowledge from the inside. And he became a Buddha, which basically means somebody who is awakened because of his enlightenment. Most of us are sleeping because we don't want to see the truth. We live in the world of dreaming. So one who is awakened is called Buddha, who is facing the truth. So Buddha told us 4 noble truths. The first truth is the most bitter one. He says, life has dukh or suffering. Most of us believe that it is possible to have a life where there is no pain, there is no suffering. Buddha says, no. Life has a suffering. Life has dukh. There is no way you can get rid of this dukh. As far as we are living, we will have problems, sufferings, dukh. The second noble truth is that there is always an origin or the cause of suffering. You will find many people say that somebody has given them pain. The world is responsible. Others are responsible. Or God has given it. Or it has come by chance. Buddha says no. Every suffering has a cause. Every suffering has a root. And therefore, if we can identify the cause and remove that cause, then our suffering can be greatly reduced. Third truth is Nirodha. That means it is possible to reduce the suffering. We are not destined to suffer. And that is the reason you will find that everybody does not suffer equally. Some people suffer more, some people suffer less. So it is very much possible to reduce our suffering. And the fourth truth is Magga. That means you can reduce your suffering by following the eightfold path, and that is the path we should follow. Let us understand all the 4 truths in detail now. The first is truth of suffering, dukh. So essence is accept that life has a suffering. Don't imagine a life where there is no suffering. Accept suffering, be mentally prepared for it. Buddha told that there are basically 3 types of suffering. The first is called dukh dukkha. Dukh means a typical physical type of pain. Illness, old age, childbirth, that type of pain which is physical in nature, we can call it dukh dukkha. Second is called the suffering of viparinama or viparinama dukh. That means suffering of change. You see, you will find that many people find it very difficult to adopt with the change. They can't accept growing old. They can't accept that the world is changing. The world is no more as it was in their childhood. Every day the world is changing. And they are very much stressed because they are not able to change with the time. So that is another type of dukh which we have. And third is called samhar dukkha, which is basically the dukh of suffering which comes because of the conditioned mind. What is this? Our mind is conditioned. We believe that the world should be like this. Everybody should speak truth. There should be no crime. There should be no corruption. Politicians should be honest. Businessmen should be honest. There should be faith. There should be truthfulness. So we make a world in our imagination which is an ideal world. And when the world does not fit into that, then we feel pain. So this is the third type of dukh or the suffering of the conditioned mind. The second is the cause of suffering. It means that every suffering has a cause. Without cause, there is no suffering. He identified 3 important causes of suffering, which he represented in 3 different forms or 3 different animals. One is rooster, which represent greed or desire. The second is snake, which represent hatred or our destructive urges, that we want to destroy other people. And third is the ignorance or delusion, which is represented in the form of pig. You can see that in the picture, that each of them are actually connected with each other, and it's like a vicious cycle, and they feed each other. For example, if you have ignorance, you don't know what is right and what is wrong, then you will think that if I get wealth, if I get power, I'll be very happy. This is all because of ignorance. Because there are already so many people who have got so much of wealth and power and they are not happy. Then how you are imagining that when you will have that, you will get it. Nevertheless, if you don't know the truth, you don't want to know the truth, then you will keep chasing them. You will have greed, you will have desires. Now when you will chase that, you will find a lot of difficulties. Because people will not give you success, people will not give you power. Then you will get very angry. All the people who are coming on your way for the fulfillment of your desires will become your enemy. You will develop tremendous hatred for them. You would like to destroy them. And that is going to create hatred, which is represented in the form of a snake. And what happens that you are angry? You cannot think rationally. You must have seen yourself. When you have hatred, you just cannot see goodness in the person. As a result, you become more and more ignorant because you are not able to see the whole truth. You see only the half truth and believe that to be the full truth, and that is the reason that hatred will give you ignorance. So all the three feeds each other, and a person is suffering throughout their life. The third noble truth, cessation of suffering. How we actually overcome the suffering. That is the third noble truth. Now, if you go for the fulfillment of your desires, you can never satisfy that. So the third noble truth is that we can reduce or even eliminate the suffering by taking care of the root of suffering. Buddha says that the most important thing to reduce the suffering is to overcome your desires. Because desire is the root cause of other two factors also. If you are able to reduce your desire, then you will also not be having hatred for other people, because your desires are so less that you will not be finding other people as your enemy. You will be thinking rationally, you will be not perceived as enemy by anybody, you will not perceive anybody as enemy. Your mind will be peaceful, calm, and therefore like a lake, water which is still water, you can see the truth from your mind. So that is important thing. So if your desires are less, your hatred will go, your ignorance will also go, and you will be able to see the truth yourself. That is why Buddha says that the most important thing for us is to control our desire, to reduce our desire, because that is the way of nirvana, that is the way of enlightenment. If you are able to overcome your desire, then your soul will become pure, your mind will become clear, and you will have no enemies. You will be able to see the things in an unbiased manner, and therefore you will have love and compassion for every living creature. Buddha has given us the eightfold path for cessation of the suffering. Desire is there, lack of desire is important, but at the same time there has to be a positive action as well. Because our mind, or what we can say is empty mind, as they say, is the home of devil. So not only we should get rid of the desire, but we should also do a lot of positive things to fill our life, because that will not allow the unnecessary desire to creep in our mind. So Buddha has given us the eightfold path, which are represented often in the form of the circle, as you can see in the diagram. Now let us understand the eightfold path. The first is the right understanding. Right understanding basically means that you should accept the Buddhist teaching, or it means the rational thoughts, and We should believe in the principle of karma rather than believing that you can do some rituals and get rid of all the sins. You should rather believe that if your karma are good, if your actions are good, you will naturally get the right result. We should also believe in the concept of rebirth. That means our life is not going to end after death, and we are going to face the consequence in the next life as well. Right intention, the second important path. Right intention is very important. We may or may not succeed, but if our intentions are right, our conscience is clear, then we will be feeling happy even if we do not succeed. Right speech. We should speak truthfully. We should never speak lies. Lies create a lot of complication in our life. Truth is straightforward. If you are speaking truth, then you will be free from so many problems. We should avoid slandering. We should not do, see the negative side and abuse other people, and when they are not present, we gossip around them, and we should try to, demolish their image. That are the things we should actually totally avoid. Negative thinkings will not make your thoughts positive. The fourth important thing is the right action. Right actions means we should do the right things and avoid the negative things. That means basically we should not steal, we should not kill, we should not go for overindulgence, should not eat too much, should not eat too less. Our actions should be very balanced and our actions should be right. The fifth important thing is the right livelihood. It is very, very important, my friend. If you are in a profession which is unethical by nature, even though they may be paying you very well, you can never be happy. So this is important, that we should join a profession which is for the benefit of the society, which is doing a positive contribution to the society. So you don't exploit people, don't choose a profession where you exploit people, don't kill animals. If the profession is like that, you have to necessarily kill animal, avoid that. Or you should not trade in the intoxicants and the weapons whose ultimate goal is to destroy humanity. So you should choose the right profession, right means of earning livelihood. That is also very, very important. Right effort. It is the sixth important part. Right effort is very, very important because without effort, you can never get anything in your life. You have to free yourself from the evil, and you should choose the right work to do. Create the right state of mind. Think positive. Motivate yourself to do the right thing. So right effort is another very important, because unless we try, we cannot succeed. Right mindfulness. This is the seventh part. That means we should be aware of our body, our feelings, and our thoughts. We are very casual in that way. We don't care about our body. We don't care about our thought. And if you are not careful, every moment, please watch whether your thoughts are destructive, whether your thoughts are constructive, whether you're feeling happy, whether you're feeling loving feeling, whether you are having hating feeling. So all those things you must watch all the time. You must watch your thoughts, and merely by watching your thought very carefully, you will find that your thoughts will become better. And finally, right concentration. That you should be able to develop the mental focus. And that Buddha asks us to do meditation. You will find generally Buddha absorbed in meditation. So, the right focus is important to achieve anything in life, whether it is studies, whether any result, tangible results. So, focus is important, and you should try to see that your mind is not diverted and it is focused on the single direction. Buddha has given us the middle path. This is the most important contribution. He says that we should avoid the extreme. No extreme is good. Excess of indulgence is bad. Excess of asceticism is bad. We should try to see that our body is reasonably comfortable. We should not try to torture the body by excessive fasting. At the same time, we should not try to please our body by eating what we want, by not doing anything. So you have to follow a middle path. We must regulate our cravings, desires with self-discipline. This is very important. Our physiological needs like food, water, clothing, all has to be fulfilled. If you don't have food, you cannot think right. You will be always thinking about the food. And that is why he advised that we should not go to the extreme. We should rather follow the middle path. Buddha has been a very rational thinker. He did not believe in the concept of God. He did not believe in the concept of Atma as it is given in the Hindu religion. He believed on the universal compassion. He believed in the benevolence, kindness. He was a kind-hearted person. He believed that we should be all kind. We should always think of doing good for the society. He was against the animal sacrifice and so many rituals which were very much prevalent during that time. He was also against caste system. He believed in the equality of all the people. He was totally against the caste system. He did not believe in God. And the important thing you should understand, Buddha believed on the practical thought. Buddha was a person who believed in the practical wisdoms. He did not spend his time for abstract questions. Who am I? Who is God? Why I am born? What is the purpose of life? All those type of questions which many people spend their life on, he was not much bothered about that. He said we should see the practical side of life. Do the things which can make our life better instead of spending our time in finding the abstract questions answer whose answers are impossible because no two people can agree on that. So he believed in the practical wisdom rather than believing on the theoretical contemplation of the truth. And his thoughts are therefore rational, logical. We can all follow his thoughts and make our life better. So friends, today we learned about Buddhism, the thoughts of Buddha. We learned that he taught us the rational things which are logically very correct and we can follow them without actually leaving our own religion because what Buddha said was universal in nature and that can be followed by everybody. His concept of ethics are very, very important. They are universal and we can make our life better by following them. Thank you very much for watching the video. Friends, today we are going to discuss about the ethical ideas of Sikhism. Sikhism is the newest religion of India and it is one of the youngest religion of the world. And this religion was created in a very particular situation, in a particular circumstances. And this religion consists of the best of Indian religions as well as the best of the Western religion. The Indian religions means Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and the Western religion basically means Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So friends, let's understand the ethical ideas which are there in Sikhism. Let's briefly go through the history of Sikhism. The Sikh faith began around 1500 CE when Guru Nanak began teaching a faith that was quite distinct from Hinduism and Islam. So first thing we should know is that Sikhism is not same as Hinduism or Islam. It is different because it incorporates the best feature of both the religions. Then we should also understand that when Guru Nanak started, it was basically a spiritual movement. After that, 9 gurus followed him and gradually the Sikh faith was developed in next couple of centuries. The 10th Guru, Govind Singh, he basically established this modern Sikhism. He proposed and completed a Sikh rite of initiation which is called Khande Dipahul, where he prescribed 5 Ks which give Sikhs their unique appearance. We'll discuss about the 5 Ks shortly. Now, Guru Gobind Singh was the last human guru of Sikhism. After that, Sikhs treat their scripture, that is Guru Granth Sahib, as their guru. Now, let's understand the concept of 5 Ks in Sikhism. The first K is Kesh, that means uncut hair. That is representing the concept that we should accept the God gift as it is. So, God has given us hair, we should accept as it is. So, we should try to be natural as God has created us. The second is Kada, that is a steel bracelet, and we know that a steel bracelet is round and it is basically a symbol of God having no beginning or end. The third K represents Kangha, which is basically a wooden comb, which symbolizes a clean mind and body, that we should clean our mind and we should clean our body. Kacha represent cotton underwear, which means symbol of chastity, that we should have control over our physical and sensual desires. And the fifth is kirpan, which is basically a steel sword, which basically indicate a struggle against injustice. So this kirpan is a very unique thing in Sikhism, because here we fight the injustice and we don't tolerate the injustice. So this is very different from the concept of non-violence, which is there in other Indian religions like Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. Now let us understand the concept of God in Sikhism. Now here we find that there is some similarity between the God as it is envisaged in Sikhism and in Islam. Now, according to Sikhism, God is only one, and God is without form or gender. So this is very similar to the concept of Allah or God in the Islamic religion. According to Sikhism, everybody has a direct access to God and everybody is equal before the God. So there is no differentiation on the basis of caste and creed. Everybody is equal before God. Now, Sikhs believe that a good life is lived as part of a community by living honestly and caring for others. So we should not go for individual salvation. We should rather live a community life. And Sikhs don't believe on empty rituals. They don't believe that there are specific dates only when we can have marriages and all that, which is very common in Hinduism. So empty rituals and superstitions have no value as far as Sikhism is concerned. So that way we can see that this Sikhism is having lots of modern ideas and concepts as compared to the other religions of India. But there are some concepts in Sikhism which are quite similar to the Indian religion. For example, Sikhs believe in the cycle of life and death. Sikh believe that human beings spend their time in a cycle of birth, life and rebirth, and this concept is very similar to the concept of Hinduism. And Sikhs also believe that the quality of each particular life depends on the law of karma. So the concept of karma, concept of soul, concept of next life, all that thing is very similar to the concept of Hinduism. Karma basically sets the quality of life according to how well or badly a person behaved in their previous life. So if you live our life well, if you do good karma, in the next life you'll get a better birth. And like other Indian religions, Sikhism also believe that the only way out of the cycle of life and birth is to achieve a total knowledge of and union of God, which is called mukti. So mukti concept is same, but unlike what is prescribed in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, where mukti is achieved or liberation is achieved by discarding desires and discarding karma, Sikhism do not believe in such concept. They believe that we should have the total knowledge of God, we should have union with God, and not we should discard the karma or desire. So let's understand how the God of Sikhism is different than the God of other Indian religion. So the God of Sikhism is the God of grace. Now, Sikhs believe that we have to understand and experience God, and gradually we should become one with God. Sikhs believe that we should switch our focus from ourselves to God. That means we should keep the God in our mind all the time. Unlike it is provided in Hinduism, for example, where through our own effort we can achieve liberation or mukti, Sikhs believe that mukti is achieved only through the grace of God. That means we have to please God. We have to do something which will please God, and then only mukti or liberation will be possible, and not by discarding the worldly life. Now, how to do that? For that, we should follow the holy books and the examples of great saints, and that way you'll get close to God. Sikhs also believe that truth is the highest of all virtues, but higher still is truthful living. That means we should always speak truth, but that is not sufficient. But we should also live a life which is honest and truthful. Sikhs also believe that God can't be understood properly by human beings, but He can be experienced through love, worship and contemplation. So let us not try to understand God through our mind, because it is beyond our capacity to understand God. We can understand God only by feeling, love, worshipping, and contemplation. So that is what is the concept of God as far as Sikhism is concerned. Now there are vital differences between Sikhism and Hinduism and other Indian religion as far as the way of life is concerned. Indian religion believes that we should ultimately become a monk, whether in Hinduism, Jainism, or Buddhism, that ultimately we should discard all the karma, all the action, become a monk, and that is the way to achieve salvation. But Sikhs don't believe that. Sikhs don't believe that we should turn away from the ordinary life to get closer to God. They believe that we should serve God by serving people every day, and this is called seva. And this concept is very similar to the concept of the Abraham religion like Islam and Christianity. Sikhs believe that when we serve people, we get rid of our ego and pride. And so it makes us humble. And therefore, caring of poor and sick is a very important duty of humankind. And you must have seen that in the time of crisis, for example, in the coronavirus crisis, the Sikhs have come in a big way to serve the people, because it is part of their religion and they consider service to people as service to God. Now, according to Sikhism, the Sikhs must have three duties which can be summed up in three words: pray, work, and give. So the first is Naam Jap. That means we should remember the name of God all the time. We should keep God in our mind all the time. The second is called Kirti Karan. That means doing the right deed. We should earn an honest living. We should not do anything which is wrong. And therefore, Sikhism clearly prohibits gambling, begging, or working in the alcohol or tobacco industries. So you would have never seen a Sikh begging, because it is totally prohibited. You are supposed to do the work and earn your living. The third is called the Vand Chakna. That basically means that we should share our earning with others. So Sikhs give great charity and they care for others. So these are the three duties which are provided in Sikhism. Now Sikhs consider 5 vices, and these vices must be avoided. These vices are Kam, that means lust; Krodh, that means anger; Lobh, that means greed; Moh, that means worldly attachment to the things or people; and Ahankar, that means ego. And Sikhism teaches us that we should avoid all these 5 things from our life. And if we can avoid these 5 things in our life, then we are on our way to liberation or mukti. So friends, today we have learned about the ethical ideas of Sikhism. We have also learned that Sikhism consists of the best of the Indian religion and also of the Abraham religion like Islam. So in this way, the Sikhism is a different religion as compared to the religion. It has its own unique identity, and I hope that you got the ideas of the Sikhism in this lesson very clearly. Thank you very much for watching this lesson.